When the cameras stop rolling and the laugh track fades, some of television's brightest stars faced battles that threatened to end everything they'd worked for. Behind the smiles and perfectly timed punchlines, addiction was quietly dismantling careers, relationships, and lives. From household names earning millions per episode to child stars who grew up too fast under studio lights, these performers discovered that fame and success offered no protection against the devastating grip of substance abuse. Here are 15 shocking stories about sitcom actors whose addiction nearly destroyed their careers. The Chandler Bing nobody saw. Matthew Perry was making television history on Friends, delivering some of the most quotable lines in sitcom history while secretly consuming 55 Vicodin pills a day. The addiction started innocuously enough in 1997 during the filming of Fools Rush In, when a jet ski accident led to a prescription for painkillers. According to Perry's own account, that first pill felt like warm honey entering his veins, and he believed if he'd never taken it, the next 3 decades of his life would have unfolded completely differently. By the show's peak years, his weight fluctuated dramatically between seasons, dropping to 128 pounds at his lowest point. Perry later revealed that fans could actually track his addiction by watching the show, explaining that when he was heavy, it meant alcohol. When he was thin, it meant pills. And when he had a goatee, it meant lots of pills. The cast and crew staged interventions, but nothing seemed to break through. Perry estimates he went through detox 65 times and entered rehab 15 times over the years. There were entire seasons of Friends he simply doesn't remember filming. During the second half of the series, he was frequently drunk or high on set, yet somehow maintained enough of his talent to earn an Emmy nomination for Season 9, which happened to be the year he stayed sober throughout filming. When 2.5 Men lost its highest-paid star, Charlie Sheen was earning $1.8 million per episode of 2.5 Men in 2010, making him the highest-paid actor on television. Within a year, that lucrative role would be gone, destroyed by decades of addiction that finally erupted into public chaos. Sheen's struggles began early in his career, checking into his first rehab facility in 1990 at age 25, partially to cope with a lifelong stutter that had plagued him since childhood. Despite achieving sobriety for several years and experiencing a career revival on Spin City and then 2.5 Men, the prescription pill problem returned during the sitcom's run. According to multiple reports, he experienced a relapse that coincided with increasingly erratic behavior, both on and off set. The public meltdown that followed became one of Hollywood's most spectacular implosions, complete with bizarre interviews, inflammatory statements about the show's creator, and the invention of phrases like winning and tiger blood that became instant pop culture touchstones. CBS fired him in 2011 after he publicly attacked producer Chuck Lorre, ending his reign as television's top earner. The aftermath left Sheen professionally radioactive for years, though he eventually found his way to sobriety. His shocking exit from 2.5 Men stands as one of the most dramatic examples of how addiction and unchecked behavior can obliterate even the most successful television career in a matter of months. From America's sweetheart to rock bottom, Jodie Sweetin was just 5 years old when she started playing Stephanie Tanner on Full House, growing up in front of 30 million viewers each week. When the show ended in 1995, the 13-year-old found herself suddenly without the only family she'd known since kindergarten. Within a year, she had her first drink at age 14, downing 2 bottles of wine at castmate Candace Cameron's wedding. What started as teenage experimentation spiraled into a full-blown addiction that consumed the next 15 years of her life. By her mid-20s, Sweetin had progressed from alcohol to ecstasy, cocaine, and eventually crystal methamphetamine, reportedly spending as much as $10,000 at a time on drugs, funded entirely by her Full House residual checks. The depths of her addiction led to shocking moments, including reportedly snorting crystal meth in a bathroom stall at the premiere of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's film New York Minute in 2004, surrounded by her former TV family who had no idea what was happening behind that closed door. Perhaps most disturbing was her double life as a supposed recovery advocate. In 2007, she gave a speech about sobriety at Marquette University, inspiring students with her story of overcoming addiction. What the audience didn't know was that she had been doing cocaine until 5 in the morning before the speech and had used the speaking fee to buy more drugs. The lies and shame only drove her deeper into addiction, creating a vicious cycle that wouldn't break until a near-death overdose finally forced her into legitimate treatment. The Partridge Family's long-fall Danny Bonaduce was 10 years old when he became one of television's biggest child stars as the wise-cracking middle kid on The Partridge Family from 1970 to 1974. But unlike his TV family's wholesome image, Bonaduce's real childhood was marked by a volatile relationship with his father and early exposure to Hollywood's dark side. When the show ended, the teenaged Bonaduce found himself with no skills, no savings, and nowhere to go. The transition from beloved child star to unemployed teenager was brutal. For several years, he lived in his car on and off, bouncing between periods of homelessness and brief stints of work. The drugs began as a way to cope with discomfort in Hollywood social scenes, starting with alcohol, then progressing to cocaine, and eventually heroin. But crystal meth became the substance that truly consumed his life for the next 2 decades. In 1990, he was arrested in a Florida housing project, having mistaken an undercover police officer for a drug dealer. The arrests continued throughout the 90s and 2000s, accumulating domestic violence charges, probation violations, and multiple failed drug tests. His ex-wife Gretchen described their 18-year marriage as an exhausting cycle of sobriety, followed by relapse, with periods of 6 months clean, followed by destructive binges. At his lowest point, Bonaduce became so despondent that he attempted suicide. When he finally looked in the mirror after smoking a substantial amount of crystal meth, the reflection scared him, showing a man who looked decades older than his actual age, with no relationship with his kids and no work prospects. That moment of clarity led him to call his friend Bob Forrest from Celebrity Rehab, beginning a recovery journey that would eventually lead to stability and a successful radio career in Seattle. Firing Julie Cooper twice wasn't enough. Mackenzie Phillips became a star at age 15, playing rebellious teenager Julie Cooper on the sitcom One Day at a Time. But her troubles with addiction had started years earlier. By age 10, her father, John Phillips, of the Mamas and the Papas, was teaching her how to roll joints. At 11, she brought cocaine to school, attempting to snort it in a closet with a friend before it spilled everywhere. When she landed the role on One Day at a Time in 1975, she was already well acquainted with hard drugs. By the show's 3rd season in 1977, Phillips was arrested for disorderly conduct, and her behavior on set was becoming increasingly erratic. She would arrive late to rehearsals, appear incoherent, and seemed detached from reality. The producers gave her a 6-week break in 1979 to get treatment, but it wasn't enough. In 1980, they were forced to fire her. Phillips entered Fair Oaks Hospital after 2 near-fatal overdoses, and the treatment seemed to work. The producers brought her back in 1981, hopeful that she had turned her life around. For a brief period, things seemed better. But in 1982,